Well, part of it did. I don't know how much of it did and where it stopped, but so I guess I'll just do a brief recap. We did call the second portion of the meeting at 1:13, and I'm not sure where the previous video cut off, but we did get motions and supports for the resolutions for trustee, supervisor, clerk, and treasurer pay. All of those passed. So that is going into the fiscal year. There was no public comment and no significant argument against those pays. So we will move forward into the Board of Trustees annual meeting, which is our budget hearing. And we did call of order, invocation, and pledge already. Amy, if you could go ahead and do a roll call.
Christie? Here. Lee?
Here.
Michael?
Here.
Heather?
Here.
Nola? Present. Eugene?
Here.
Amy? Here.
All right, and if we could get approval of this agenda.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Michael. Can we get a support?
Support.
Support by Eugene. All right, agenda approved. This is the first public comment in this meeting. Does the public have any comment? All right, hearing no public comment, we will move into decision items. We do have quarterly budget adjustments. I'm gonna scroll down here. The trustees have, well, you guys don't have these packets, do you? That's not super helpful. I'll just run through them real quick. So fire run pay is gonna be the first one. This is in the fire budget. It was at 60,000. The part-time firefighters didn't run as many calls, so we're gonna bump that down to 30. Do you guys want me to print this for you real quick? So you can see what I'm seeing. Let me do that.
That's what you sent us in the email.
Yeah, I sent it to you in the email and I just didn't.
But
Can you just zoom in a little bit, Heather, and then?
I can just, I mean, yeah, that's fine. I'll just do that then.
This is last year's budget.
Yep, this is the budget that ends, and so we have to make adjustments. So like,
There you go.
we went from, this was for fire run pay, like I said, that they used 21.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So it was budgeted for 60, so we can bump it down to 30. That puts the budget a little bit. We did have to go up in the retirement in this section because for some reason when we were pulling retirement, it was coming out of this GL and not the other GL. So this is just to correct that. And then the decrease by 1,000 in EMS, emergency medical supplies, they didn't even use 2,000 of it, but I didn't want to, in case there's something that chief needs to buy drastically, I didn't want to bump it down too much. And then operating supplies, I left chief with a little bit of wiggle room for this week too, but he used less than $7,000. So bumping that down.
Question, Heather.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, because this is last year's budget,
Yep, this is the budget that's coming to an end. So this is the last
so
amendment.
that's not affecting what we have for this coming year.
Right, this is our final quarterly budget adjustments to finalize this budget.
Okay, but as long as we're not spending over what we had budgeted, why do you have to monkey with the numbers anyway?
Why do we move it down? So
Yeah.
that we don't look like we over budgeted drastically. So we bump numbers down and we
It's for
bump
appearance
numbers up.
purposes.
Well,
It's part of the Gatsby, which says we have to do it because we can only show money coming in and money going out. It has to fund it into our fund balance, and if you have an override, you can't do it. So it's a legal thing.
Okay,
so, yeah, we do quarterly,
Thing.
right, we do quarterly budget adjustments every quarter.
Yeah.
This one just is the one that seems to be a little bit more drastic because it's trying to get the final budget to be as much in line with the numbers we used.
okay,
Um,
got it.
And it sets the go forward.
right, it's what helped me come up with the numbers
Right.
for next year's budget.
Okay.
which we were a little bit behind because of, again, like finance stuff and switching stuff over, which we're getting caught up, which is super important. So anyway, repair and maintenance, we went up just a little bit. Chief did have to purchase some other equipment this year too. He had some things that went bad, so he went over a little bit on that one. But for the most part, he went under on a lot of stuff. So radio expense and repair, he spent 175. So not anywhere close to what he had.
Wow.
Fuel, they didn't spend nearly as much as they thought, so bumped that one down. The liability and bonding insurance, that has just gone up all on its own. And so we've had to increase that line. It's not anything anybody did, it's just
Right.
what it is.
Yep.
Training went up, is gonna go up a little bit here by 1,000, which training is important, so I think that speaks for itself, but. Building repair, he didn't use as much as he thought he was gonna have to, so we bumped that down again. So, all right, that's it for the.
So this
fire.
shows that our fire department's frugal,
Yes,
okay?
well, not, I wouldn't necessarily, they're wise stewards with what they have.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
yep, yes. Chief is very
No, but
conscious.
a lot of times people think when people get into office and they get money and it's not their money, so they just go wild with it.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that's
that's
the
one
opinion
thing-
of the public.
Yeah, that's one thing I will compliment Chief on. He is very smart with it, with the budget that he's given. And he is always conscious about coming in before making any purchase really
Any.
that's like even over $100. He's like, do I have money in the budget? What is the budget?
Well, that's nice to know.
So he is very, very
See,
good.
more people should be here listening.
Yeah, maybe they'll listen to the recording. We have a good chief. He does a good job. Stay humble. Office supplies and postage. We do have to increase that a little bit. That is just due to cost of things and we've had admin changes throughout the year too. And so, just getting different supplies and stuff. So that did bump up a little bit. Computer supplies and operating. So this I did bump up, but there is a little bit that's coming out of that too, just from a mistake in where that money went in a GL. But I wanted to make sure that there was money to cover it if it didn't quite fill it. We didn't use any repair and maintenance for that, so that got bumped down to 0. Professional services is high because that was Maynard and paying them to get the stuff together. So that significantly hit our budget. We had expected to use 10,000 and we used 57.
Wow.
So, other than that, this property tax chargeback, that is from purchasing county land. And so we didn't anticipate doing that, so Jeff had it at 0, and then we ended up purchasing some land, so we had to bump it up. This is in clerks. They did not use very much for operating supply and postage. So that can get bumped down. And then a little bit of an increase for miscellaneous and education. They did just go to training and that came out of this fiscal year too, so. Increase for salary and wage. This is for, let's see here, sorry. Just miscellaneous, I don't know what, oh, sorry, this is Tina's pay for
Oh.
finance. I was like, who gets paid that amount in a year?
Yeah.
So that's Tina, she got her last paycheck of the year and I factored that into this number. So this 6,000 should cover us paying her through this fiscal year. And then, let's see, health insurance prices went up, so we had to cover for that. Workers' comp, we used a little bit more than what we thought we were going to. Decrease down on unemployment. Board of review, we just had the board of review and they had a training and all that stuff, so that was more than what we anticipated. This stuff pretty much stayed the same. Admin assistant, increased just a little bit on that one. And operating supply and postage for treasurer, that is because Christie's, when she mails out the tax bills and stuff, that goes in her treasury operating supplies. So it just was a little bit more than what we thought.
And I do a reminder of summer bills now.
Yes, yep,
So they don't go delinquent.
so.
So I added an extra mailing.
Plat maps, we didn't use that much in there, so bumped that down. Other services didn't get used at all. Election, repair and maintenance, didn't use the $7,000, so bumped that down. Building and grounds, operating supplies did increase, and I mentioned this too, it did change in the budget as well for next year because Justin is using more than what we had anticipated, but that's good because Justin's getting a lot of work done.
A lot.
Like a lot of work done. So we want him to be able to have that, you know, I think that's wise stewards of the money to put that in there so that he can go ahead and do the work to make the repairs in the township that need to happen too. So, and then gas, the fuel prices go up for him because he's running around during the winter and doing that stuff. So, purchase equipment went up. Down in repair and maintenance, miscellaneous education, he didn't go to training.
Repair and maintenance, Justin is doing a lot of his own repairs. You know, so I don't think we have spent as much.
He
this year
hasn't.
Because he's doing a lot himself instead of sending it out.
Which is probably why that operating supplies go up and the repair and maintenance stuff goes down, so. It's all working its way out. Printing and publishing, we just used a little bit more than we thought with notices and stuff that had to go out this year, so added to that. Lake spraying, this was because Jeff had the surveys and the treatment options down on the lake, that was costly, so that's why that jumped. Sorry, guys, I'm not trying to keep everybody here, but utilities went up. Signage, we didn't use as much, so we jumped that down. The ditch cleaning, we put money in it every year and it just can't, it doesn't happen, so. The road commission. The road improvement and gravel, we did do a gravel upgrade on roads, so that needed to be increased. And then this money, it looks like an increase, but that's just moving it from ARPA. This 300 and whatever thousand, 363,000. Public works. Contracted services. Again, I think this is also gonna go down because somehow money got put in there from the cemetery, but that's like McCormick coming and doing stuff at the transfer station and such. Junk cleanup, we didn't use a lot, miscellaneous. Planning commission, operating supplies went down, education went down. Education and zoning, Steve didn't use as much. Zoning. An increase and a decrease. I'm almost to the end, guys, I promise. Utilities went up. Not sure what was in the miscellaneous, that's down. And then transfer from other funds, we didn't need to transfer anything to a different fund, so that was fine. So, any questions on those adjustments?
So I assume, I just don't remember us doing this, but quarterly we'll review this.
Quarterly, we will do adjustments, and I think Jeff did like minor ones, but he couldn't because the general ledger was never balanced. And so he's like, what am I adjusting?
So now we're
Now we're almost caught up, and I made some like, I can't make journal entries, so I was like making some like things like, hey, Amy, this needs to be moved here, moved here. I did all that in this before I got these ready, so. These are as accurate as we are probably gonna get at the moment, so. Can we get, let me scroll back up. Okay, so final budget adjustments, we just need to make a motion to approve the final quarter budget adjustments.
I make a motion to approve the final quarterly adjustments.
Okay, motion by Nola,
all support.
support by Michael. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, this is a budget item, so we'll do a roll call vote.
Okay. Nola,
Yes.
Eugene,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Amy, yes.
All right. And then we need to open up a budget hearing for that's the wrong numbers, 2025, 2026. So I'll correct that on the agenda. So I'm gonna go ahead and open that budget hearing at 1:30. And then I did send out the few adjustments that I did make to the budget, after doing those quarterly adjustments. So if there's any, I don't know, conversation or anything that needs to happen on the budget.
If I read it right, you left $100,000 in there for cushion.
Where at?
Well, you've got, your income is 1.6.
Oh, what we've spent is not what we are anticipating getting in.
I know,
Yes,
but the appropriations was 1.5. If I take this one, estimated expenditures,
Mhm.
compare it with estimated revenues,
Mhm.
up to $100,000.
yes,
That's what I wanted.
yes, yep, yeah, because I want to under budget.
Yep.
Like, so I anticipate that we're gonna use more in the budget, but I still want it to be underneath what we're getting. And that's for things that happen, that when we have to move money around or need to do a project or whatever, and we have that there. But I didn't want to be so crazy under it that we're not using what, like, I don't want the people to think that we're not doing stuff either, so. Okay, I've never done a budget hearing before, so anybody got any?
May I speak?
Yes, you may.
If two things, we need to make you need to make an adjustment to your resolution because it's missing decimal points. You have to, under section 2 in the last line, your balance of 1,892,700 has to have a decimal point after it. It shows 00. But Mr. Coy, to explain your concern, if you read the entire section, if you read, you get $2,864,649. That includes my fundage from the fire millages. Your balance then changes because it's less the money from my budget, which gives you $1,892,700.00. So you're actually over what you're estimated to spend. If you read it that way, you have to read section 2 before you read section 4, and then go back to section 4 to refer to section 2. If that makes sense.
But we're still under for both.
Correct. What we anticipate to spend in our revenues, we in both the general fund or the fire fund, they're both coming in under what we're estimated to get as revenue versus our expenditures.
Yes.
It just looks awkward because it splits the two of them because they have to come in with one lump number on a tax bill. It comes in and then it's the treasurer's job to split into the correct funds. If that makes sense. If that helps. It's on my 14th time doing this fund out now.
See,
Well-
But we have to roll it that way because of the Headley Fund, and the Headley Fund is a whole nother time to talk about. Where if you've understood how the rollback works, we get appropriated, but we can only allot, and that's the problem.
We can't go over inflation.
Right,
We
but we
can't go
lose-
over a certain amount.
We
of what
lose
the
about
state says.
1.3 is what we'll end up losing in mill funds to roll back that Headley Fund to get our accurate numbers. Our as the township, not as me personally.
And right now we're at 0.9.
Correct. We can't hit more than 1.3. It's the Headley law of whatever, 1970 or 80, whatever the hell it was, 82 or 81. whatever it was. Budgets are a pain in the booty.
They really, really are.
I just,
It sounds like you're robbing Peter's big ball. It is.
That is a lot.
It's a ton to wrap your head around it, and unfortunately, it comes in with very short time that you've been in office, and it's nothing against, it's just,
Right.
I had the same problem when I came in. Thankfully, I came in right after the budget year, so I had a year to learn how the GASB works. And if you'd like, I'll be happy to sit down with you and
Right.
And some off time, drink some coffee, and we'll rather as it works. And if once you understand it, it really is pretty easy, but you gotta put about, well, to read the whole 387 pages, it takes about a week, but if
Wow.
I've got it down to about 30 pages that are important for trustees and my leadership to understand. Dumb it down, because it's just what we really need to know. Nice to know information, need to know information, right? And
Right.
you have to have the information that you need to know, but this is nice to know. And that's where this comes into effect, why section 2 has to be there. That's why I wanted Amy to make the correction, because it could come back, because we do sign a resolution saying that it's not 0.00, then it's only saying we have 100,000. Somebody could misread that and say that that's what could be in their interpretation. You don't want that to happen.
Correct, yeah.
If you all have some use and
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody got anything else? Any other questions?
I knew Madam Supervisor, this was her first time, so I said I'd help her out with it because I understand it. It's not nothing wrong with having an open conversation with the constituent.
It's very good. Takes a village story.
Yeah, and that's like Chief said, the budget is like a lot. So
It really
it's a lot of moving pieces, and so we just try to do like the best the first time and hopefully don't have to do a bunch of adjustments down the road, so. All right. I guess we will, if anybody doesn't have anything else, we'll get a motion to close the budget hearing.
We have to vote on it.
Do,
You open the
You have to
meeting.
approve, you have to
You
approve.
Okay.
opened it, but you didn't do
as
nothing else.
submitted.
okay, I haven't done one ever, so I didn't know how that worked. So then I guess we will need a motion to approve the final budget with the amendment that she's gonna fix that resolution.
Right, so I'll make that motion that we approve the 2025-2026 budget as laid out with the adjustments to section 2 at the bottom, adding 0.00 to that figure.
All right, motion by Michael, support by Nola. And then any discussion from the board?
This is where if any of you have questions about the budget itself, then you can ask.
All right. Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Michael,
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Noah?
Yes.
Christie?
Yes.
Eugene?
Yes.
Amy, yes?
All right, motion passes. And then I guess we need a motion to close the budget hearing.
Motion to close the budget hearing.
Motion by Nola. Can we get a support? Support by Lee. All right, and I don't think we need to do a roll call vote for that one because we're just closing it, but
Okay, let me pause for just a moment there.
Mhm.
Should we didn't do this on the approval of the agenda. Should we be doing all in favor, say aye, or are we gonna drop that? Because that's what we used to do.
we should have done all in favor, say aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Anything that does not create personnel or finance can be an aye vote. Everything all in favor. Anything that has an actual agenda or actual and wow, I can't say the word. An actual advocate vote, it has to be a roll call. So spending money, personnel issues, over budget stuff, that has to be a vote. So a beginning and an end of a meeting can be an aye vote. And all in favor.
So
By Robert's rules.
then I guess to close the budget hearing, we'll do it all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed, same sign? None? Okay, the budget hearing is closed. If we could go back in time, we can do an aye vote for the agenda, if we want to, for both, because we had both. So both agendas, we already did the motion and support, are all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay, so those are approved. And then there is another. Let's see, oh, that was the resolution. Which we already discussed. That. Well, we do have another, we have to approve that resolution. We approved the budget, we actually have to approve the resolution. So we have to get a motion to approve resolution for the 2025-2026 budget.
I make a resolution to approve the 2025-2026 budget.
Okay, motion by Nola, do we have a support? It is what you already edited, Michael.
Isn't it a
Just-
resolution?
Yeah, it's what you guys have.
Does it need to be resolution 25-09
Mhm.
instead of the budget, like it needs to be resolution
Right.
period?
So resolution for the budget, right?
No.
Yeah, you can say, resolution 2025-9. You're
Ah,
Zero.
resolution 2025-09.
Motion by Nola. All right,
Try that
do we
again.
have a support?
Support.
Support by Lee. Beautiful. And then we should do a roll call vote on this one, because it is approving that resolution for the budget.
Before we do the roll call vote, I would just stipulate again that is
With that amendment.
with that amendment in
Correct.
section 2.
Yep.
Thank you. All right.
Okay. Eugene,
Yes.
Christie, Nola,
Yes.
Heather, Lee,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Amy, yes.
All right, motion passes. We do have another public comment. Does the public have any comment?
I do.
All right, if you could step forward, I know the thing's not up here, or you can sit there, but just say who you are.
I'm Karen Fowler, 2769 Middle Lake Road. Do you send applications for ballots to every member of the township?
No. So you have,
What determines whether you send them?
so there is a permanent ballot list. The permanent AV application list is going away, but you have to request to be on it. And then once you've requested to be on it, you will get an application. This is the last election you would even get an application for because that list is going away. So people who would like to get an AV ballot need to come in and request to be put on the permanent ballot list.
That was my question when I saw how much each one of those things costs, 69 cents.
Mhm.
Then it costs another whatever to go back. That's a lot of money.
And we get several back because people move, like will be away and they'll forward their mail and election mail cannot be forwarded.
Oh, but I know that I have been asked to be taken off that list so many times. And every time there's an election, my husband and I both get them.
Okay,
I ain't got one.
we'll have to
So
look at that.
now I won't have to do anything because you have to come in and request to be on
Unless you
that list.
get put on that list, yes. If you've not requested it ever, you will not automatically be put on that list.
Okay, that's my,
Mhm.
because that's a lot of money, and I can remember one time I complained about this before
Mhm.
because whoever sends them out, is that the clerk?
Yes.
Clerk and deputy.
They sent them to every person.
Oh,
Mhm.
That wasn't it? You remember? I sent them to everyone. Well, that's a big postage.
It's a big expense.
And it's even worse now because the postage is so much higher.
oh, absentee.
Absentee ballot.
Mhm.
Yeah, we can look
Because the
into it
applications
again
come
for
out.
you, but,
And then.
and I
Come back
only
and-
answered because I was previous
And then we would
clerk and
vote
Amy's still
actual
learning
ballot.
some of the stuff too, but
So
Well, this was probably
years.
20 years ago but this person sent them to everyone
Yeah, yeah, we did not do that for sure.
because that's expensive.
And this is the last year that we're sending out the applications
At all.
to go on the absentee ballot.
Yep.
Because we're doing away with that.
Permanent.
That's good. That's good.
They're only voting.
That'll save you a lot of money.
And we put a sticker on those applications letting them know
That they're not gonna get one.
that they're not gonna get an application in the mail anymore.
Okay,
All right, any,
thank you.
you're welcome, welcome. Any other public?
I'm all
comment?
about saving money.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm old and that's, old people do that.
Not all people, young people too.
All right, any other public comment? All right, hearing none, can we get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Nola. Support by Christie. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? All right, meeting adjourned at 1:44.
You are a dear.